a big part of the theme tonight is how do we as a city grow competitively, yet respectfully, gracefully, sustainably, and safely. And are we ready? Are we prepared? That's why we're here. If we look to the great cities around the world and those closer to home for guidance, they share similar characteristics among their citizenry: creative planning, foresight, and ingenuity, and courage to make the hard compromises to meet both the known and future challenges. And tonight marks the starting place for creating our plan for sustainable, progressive progress, a plan to meet the changing needs and desires of all of our citizens, young and old, black, white, and brown, a plan for what all we want our city to be 20 years from right now. For those of you not here, our first comprehensive plan was adopted in 1989 when we were a much different town. Similar to now, that plan was developed by task teams in our Planning and Zoning Board. That plan was again evaluated in 2006 using the same process we are embarking on tonight, and was updated in 2008 through a series of City Commission workshops, followed by some amendments in 2009 and 2010. As our planning director will discuss later, this new comprehensive plan update will focus on our existing plan elements while introducing 5 new elements: healthy community, historic preservation, economic development, sustainability and resiliency, and education. Think about it for a second. As important as those new elements are, they were barely mentioned in the first comprehensive plan in 1989. Those of you on the steering committee may see your role as sort of a treetop, supported by the deeper dive root system of staff subject matter experts such as our police department for emergency preparedness, community subject matter experts such as our education committee and historic preservation task force, and local advocacy groups and organizations such as our DDA, CRA, historic trust, and neighborhood groups. But make no mistake, this is a big, big undertaking for us. And to make it work, we need everyone's participation and input. And for anyone that wants to jump in, we ask that you always bear in mind the intrinsic relationship among all the comp plan elements. For example, it's impossible to have a meaningful discussion about economic development without also discussing the quality of our education. How do we have a coherent policy discussion about growth without now understanding sustainability and the financial implications of both? We can't discuss the wellness of our citizens without discussing transportation alternatives. You know, I just returned from a sister city trip to Italy and was so impressed with seeing such an active citizenry, all ages, where it was hard to find a road that didn't have a two-way bicycle lane, wide sidewalks, where pedestrians, motorists, and just about every walk of life shared their means of transportation safely. I saw little or no obesity. I talked to many people there. They don't have chronic health problems because there isn't a pharmacy on every corner dispensing medication like candy. There is little or no opioid addiction. When I describe the problems that we are dealing with, it's much different than the America that they've perceived through the years. And as I discussed with our planning director before the meeting, we may enjoy a high standard of living. There is much to learn about how we can enjoy a higher standard a higher quality of life. So like the circular Olympic rings that can continually move and overlap, I hope you start to see the intersections among these planning elements are really limitless. And that's how we need to contemplate both journey and destination in this comp plan. The good news is we are providing multiple ways for everyone to participate, be engaged, and help draft our city's next 20-year plan. Even as culture and technology continually collide and evolve, thankfully, there are evolutionary and intellectual changes underway about how best to sustain our cities and how to make it possible for people and communities to adapt again and again. It's happening right now with you being here. So as we continue our city's journey forward, standing on the shoulders of our town's visionary leaders, I hope you agree it's up to us. Always Delray is more than a slogan. It means to me, and I hope it does to you, always working together like we always have. So I thank you for coming tonight. This is a big deal for us. Plans are great. Plans, like the people that those plans are made to help, change, and we all know change is accelerating very quickly. And what may seem like a plan of 10 years ago is only 10 years ago. The pace at which our city is moving, these plans need to be the living, breathing changes that we want our city to be, and I can't thank you enough for supporting this and supporting your city staff and what I hope to be will be something we can all look back on 20 years from now, instead of other places where children may ask, why didn't you do that? Our children and grandchildren will be proud that we did. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you Tim Stillings, our planning director, who will take us through the evening's program to manage your expectations on what I see as an interesting process that we hope will culminate in late 2017 with the city's latest comp plan. Tim Stillings.
What a great setup. I think through the leadership of the mayor and the city commission, we will have a fine product in the comp plan and in the components that come out of it. I want to thank you as well for coming out. I know everyone had other things they could have been doing tonight, and it shows the importance of this effort and how much it means to move the city forward. I'm going to ask the house lights to be dimmed. I know you may want to look at my pretty face, but I'm afraid the glare is going to keep you from seeing all the nice slides that we have. We're going to try to keep you here less than 2 hours, so we'll try to move through this reasonably quickly. But at the end, we have a Q&A session, so if we haven't covered everything you were hoping we would cover, we have that opportunity. And actually, if there's any way to take the lights off of me a little bit. Thank you. As I mentioned, we have a short program tonight. Hopefully, I said less than 2 hours. We're going to just go over what the plan is, what we want the new plan to be, how we hope to engage you in the process, because it is your plan. It's the community's plan. It's not something that the planners, it's something we're going to help you put together, but it needs to be your plan. It needs to be Delray's plan. And we want to walk you through that and do everything we can to make sure that it is your plan and it's something you're proud of. As the mayor said, I think it's very important that we really focus on not only where we are today, but where we want to be and how we can get there. And then we have a little, hopefully, interesting engagement process where we're going to have a little polling session to get you excited about ways that we're going to engage you in future community meetings, and So hopefully everyone has the login for the website, and we'll go over that again, and we have some folks who can help you if you've had any challenges there. Again, I want to thank the Commission for having the foresight. About a year ago, we were looking at the need to evaluate the plan as a requirement by the state. And when we did, we said that it was time. It was time to really look at the plan again in more detail and not just do an update, but look at the pieces that were missing, like the elements that the mayor described, and look at how we can enhance it to cover the entire community as well as the changes that have occurred since that update. Throughout the process, we're going to have a steering committee helping us with that. They have been appointed by the Commission, and I guess they need the house lights back on because I'd like those that are here to stand up if they would. You'll recognize some. I want to thank them in advance for the I'm not sure they really know what they've gotten themselves into yet. For example, they got a nice little piece of homework to take with them tonight, and I think we were kind of tricky and only printed out about 10% of it. The rest they can open up at home. But they're going to be immersed in this plan, and they're there to help us basically transcribe the community's input into the goals, objectives, and policies that will serve as the policy guide for the comprehensive plan. And so they will be focused on not just one topic, but all of the topics within the 15 elements and all of the components of the plan. And so it's really going to be important that they really have the focus. And we'll try not to be too hard on them through as we go along. They're going to be supported by the planning staff, the long-range planning staff. I guess I should have introduced myself for those who don't know me. I'm Tim Stillings, the planning director. I have a fine support staff of planners. Many have been with the city for quite some time, some for not so long. We have Mark Stivers, Jasmine Allen, and Danae Smith. If they're here, they would stand up. We're also being... Yep. We also have some help from Calvin Giordano and Associates who are here tonight as well. And we're also going to get help from all of the other staff in the other departments. So if I could have all the city staff that are here tonight, I think we've had a good show of some of the staff representatives. Maybe they snuck out already. I didn't think they opened the bar yet, did they? But it's going to take a lot more than the folks you see on the screen to pull this off. We need everyone in this room. We need all of the other departments that are our subject matter experts. We need all of our local groups and organizations, whether you're for advocacy or a particular agenda, however it might be, neighborhood association. We need everyone to be a part of this process, and we hope that you join us along the way. So we'll talk a little bit about what the comprehensive plan is. As you've heard, we've termed it Always Delray, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But the plan is made up of what we planners call elements, but they're basically just chapters. It's a way for us to take a lot of information and try to compartmentalize it so we can all easily understand it and find it. We currently have 9 elements. We've added one since the mayor and I've talked, so we're up to 15 now, and we'll get into a little bit of that. So those elements cover all aspects of the community. As Mayor mentioned, we have some that have not been covered well or extensively in the plan that we think need more attention. Education in particular, historic preservation. We've added mobility to transportation, which I think is an important part of the conversation, and the sustainability and resilience. Not only looking at how we're using our resources efficiently, but also making sure that we're planning for the future changes relative to climate and any sea level rise issues. So the plan also will incorporate all of the master plans, redevelopment plans, neighborhood plans throughout the city Right now, there's mention of them, but we want to integrate them into the plan much more than I think what has been done previously, so that we truly make them a part of how we move forward. And most importantly, all of this happens with your public engagement and your involvement, as it is your plan. This all culminates into how we do things, how we spend our money, where we spend it on infrastructure, our development code, our land development regulations, how development is done, our city codes and standards, how we regulate the activities in and around the community, and any of the plans and programs. So the comp plan is identifying all of those initiatives, all of those programs to achieve the vision, to achieve the goals and objectives that we've set out for each of the various topics. And so why now? As I mentioned before, it's time. We thought it'd be better to have this conversation, revisit the full component of it rather than simply looking at it as an update. So you'll see it as referred to as a new plan, an update, but it is very much expanding what we have to address the changes that we've seen in the community, as well as those we are trying to anticipate. We've all seen the changes that Uber and other ride services are having on the transportation system, and that's going to have a tremendous impact on our city. It will affect how we deal with traffic. It would affect how we deal with parking, and that's just one component. So when we get into creating the new plan, and as I said, you'll hear it referred to as a new plan. It's an update. I kind of like if you think back to the L'Oreal commercial, it's a comp plan, only better. Like that. Thank you. Been working on that all day. So we've broken all of these 15 elements into what we're calling 4 themes. And while the colors aren't really displaying well on this presentation, you'll see them throughout our material as we go forward. Because what we want you to do is see the colors and see the themes and recognize that that's the plan, that's what we're working on. And there's a lot of symbolism in what we're trying to present. I think the circles represent the act of planning. It's a continuous cycle. It's never ending. We plan, we implement, we monitor, we adjust. We implement, we monitor, so we keep going. It's a never-ending cycle. I think the mayor described the Olympic rings, which is a great analogy as well, and also the lines connecting the circles to show that it's all interrelated. One impacts the other. And so, as I mentioned, we've coined it Always Delray because Delray's always been Delray. It's really all you can say. We don't want to be Boca. We don't want to be Boynton. We've always been and always will be uniquely Delray. And so this is used to, as I said before, to allow us to this is our tagline. So when you see this, it's the plan. When you see any meeting notices referring to Always Delray, it's the plan. It's a way for us to hopefully pull you into the process a lot more, so you don't just see it as any other meeting, because we have a lot of meetings in this town. So, as I mentioned, we've put these elements, these topics into the 4 themes, and you may say, well, we did our best. Some fit better than others, and some more than others, but more or less we tried to divide them among the various themes to also help the steering committee have a little bit of a focus, as well as not throw all 15 topics at them at once. So the first will be live, where we're looking at how we get around where we live. I think it's Maslow's triangle shows shelter as one of the top priorities, or top 3 priorities of a human. How we deal with our cultural and historic assets. I think Delray is a tremendous example of how a community has done a tremendous job and a great job at preserving its assets. We're in one right now, which is a beautiful setting, and I couldn't have expected or thought to have had this meeting in a better location to kick this off. but also looking at how our environment influences our health. You know, the mayor mentioned his trip to Italy, and definitely how we deal with transportation, how we deal with education, how we approach all of the aspects of the community affect not only our health but our happiness, and that's a tremendous impact that we have, not just as planners but as community leaders. For work, we have education, and it's really looking at lifelong learning. You know, so it's not just the kids in school, but it's once you get out of school, it's making sure that we have job training. It's looking at how that relates to economic development, so we have the jobs for the folks who are getting the training. It's also leveraging all the available resources that we have among our partners in government as well as out in the community. And we have a lot of groups and organizations in Delray, and we can definitely do a better job at pulling those resources together to achieve or continue to make Delray a great place. Play, you know, one of the biggest assets that we have is the beach. You know, I think Delray did a fantastic job with the first plan and its coastal management focus, and looking at how to make sure that the beach remained its key asset. We also have our Parks and Recreation system, which is among the best in the county, and I would argue in the state. And we have other areas that are preserve areas that we need to make sure that we retain, that we are doing everything to protect them. And then grow, looking at our land use, looking at our infrastructure, our facilities, and making sure that we are sufficiently planning for their longevity as well. And looking at how we do that. You know, it's changing the lights so that we're saving our residents money, as well as making sure that it's safe for them. So all of this will come together. Once we get through the 15 topics, we'll work with the committee and the community to create an action plan to make sure that all the programs and policies and initiatives that come out of that, we have a game plan to get it accomplished. And that goes back to leveraging those resources. So it's not just the planning department doing it. It won't be just our engineering department trying to pull this off. We're going to bring everyone into the equation, making sure that we're doing the best that we can for the city and continue to do so. And that also translates in the capital improvement plan, which we've recently adopted and will have an impact on the upcoming plan for next year. So when we're done, we want to have this fall into 3 documents. We have our formal policy guide, and I say formal, you know, it's basically what the planners will tend to thumb through more than anyone else. But we want to make it user-friendly, and when I say user-friendly, it's more a YOU friendly. User, is that? I don't have the accent for it, because we want to try our best to keep all of the plannerese out of it, to make it as usable a document for everyone in the room, regardless of your profession, regardless of your education level, regardless of your interest in planning. It needs to work for all of us, and it needs to do that through this plan. And so supporting that will be a data and analysis component, which is just separate. We'll work on updating that information on a regular basis to make sure we are looking at the plan to see any changes that would need to happen in the future. And then also creating what I would call a pocket guide for the plan. And we intend to have that published in not only English, but Spanish and Creole, because we know we have others in the community whose first language is not English. And this will become, to me, the document that we'll all carry around, or I hope we'll all carry it around, that you'll keep on your desk, you'll carry to all of your meetings, you'll put on your coffee table, you'll be proud to show your friends, hey, look what my community created, and I understand what it says. That's going to be the most key to this document, because I'm sure you've all read our comprehensive plan cover to cover now, right? Everyone? It's an exciting read. So I'm going to ask Mark Stivers to come up now and walk you through our public engagement process. Mark's a principal planner with Delray, who's been with us a little over a year now. You'll find that he's much more engaging than I am, which is why I'm bringing him up here for this part of it. Thank you very much.
So here we go. We live? So you're here now, and this is not it. I know, I think you guys believe that you had one meeting and you could sit through this and you're done, but oh no, we have a long time for you. So I need you to do me a favor, and if you could just bring the house lights all the way up, I need you to look around the room, okay? And I need each one of you to think about 3 people that are not here tonight that need to be here. I did a project a while ago, and we were designing a playground. And of course, as a professional planner who is highly trained and skilled in my field, I know how to build playgrounds, right? So we designed this thing. It was perfect. It geometrically lined up with everything. It met every angle of every quadrant. It was perfect. So we called in what we call our subject matter experts. The kids. And kids are great. Kids are shy. They never really tell you what they think, right? They don't like to say anything. So we brought the kids in, and we get these very encouraging comments like, ew. Really? So then we say, well, what would you do? And they say, well, the slide can't go over here. That's just dumb. Slide's got to go over here. I learned a lot that day. You learn that the people who use the things that we do and use the things here in the city are the experts. I was working on a sidewalk plan, and we had a guy in a wheelchair come in and talk to us about sidewalks. It's easy for me to get around. Interesting how his perspective was so different because he saw it from the 4 wheels, and he saw not the beautiful buildings, he saw all the obstructions. He saw the telephone pole that was right here that means he had to go really slow around the edge or fall off into the street. So we need you. We need all of us together to go through these elements with us, to talk us through this, to help us work this plan. So we're going to be reaching out to you. We're going to be reaching out to you as individuals. We're going to be reaching out to groups, neighborhood groups, organizations that already exist. If we don't know about the group that you have, please get in touch with us, okay? You'll see we have a website. It's live now. It's thin. Okay, we're working on it. We're going to build it up, and it's going to get bigger and bigger as we go along. But we want to have something ready tonight so that you can go to it and start there. And so we're going to keep putting information up here. And some of the things are going to link back to the city's website. And one of the big things, I meant to mention this in the beginning, is we're videotaping all of these meetings now. So if you forget something, you heard something you want to go back to, or some people who couldn't make it tonight wanted to know what happened, point them to the website. They can go back, watch the video again, and catch up. Starting sometime in November, we're going to be putting together a survey. Please fill it out. I know, how many surveys do you get? Another one. Take time, fill it out. Okay, we need to hear from as many people as possible. It's going to be an online survey. We're going to have paper copies available as well. We're going to have it translated, as Tim mentioned, so that we can have it and reach out to as many people as possible. Okay, so we want to hear from you. We want to reach out and have you tell us exactly what you see and feel. If you have a group that meets and you want to do your own thing, what we're going to be working with our consultants, with Calvin Giordano, is to put together what we call just a meeting in a box. And we're going to package it all together, and we can send it to you. And it's going to have information for those people who are facilitating the meeting. There's going to be response sheets and things that you fill out and things you can get back to us, okay? So if you have a group and you're like, you know what, we have a small group, there's 6 of us to get together. We talk about sport fishing, but you know what? That's important to us. And we want to get out. We want to hear from you, okay? So, this is probably the first time in a meeting you've ever heard this. Please actually pull out your cell phone. Those of you who turned it off, thank you. Turn it back on. And we're going to try this. We want you to vote. So if you haven't set it up already, just go to your web browser and punch in this address, okay? Now, we're going to ask you a few questions tonight, but after this, in the next meetings, we want to keep using this system so that we can gather and hold on to this information. While you're doing that, I'll tell you a quick story. I had a great privilege of living overseas for a while, and I lived in Amsterdam. And you talk about a city that's crazy. I lived there for 9 years and never had a car because you just don't need it. And you bike everywhere. And you can bike to the train station and throw your bike on the train and take it to the next city and pull your bike off and go. Way different, but probably the coolest city, and I love doing this only because it's purely bragging. Okay, this is all about me right now. Got to go to Egypt. And we talk about historic preservation, and the mayor and I were talking today about over in Italy how if a building's 500 years old, that's the newer one. You know, those are the new buildings. And I got to crawl inside probably one of the oldest structures still standing known to man, and that was the Great Pyramid in Giza. And you look at these things, and you're like, that many years ago they made that? That many years ago they could design that? It's just, if I had my way, I would just love to be so rich I could just travel the world and see these things and go to these places. And I got to go down to Paris, and you walk down the Champs-Élysées, and you're like, wow, the pictures don't get it. The pictures don't capture it. So here's my challenge to you. What are we building in Delray today? What are we designing? What are we putting together? That years from now, people are going to be, have you gone to Delray? Have you seen what they built there? They built that years ago. Somebody was thinking. That's our challenge right there. That's what we have to do in this process. We have to think about what we want the legacy to be. And when people look back to this time, and we look back now, and we look at some of the awesome things that this city has done, let's make it our goal that we look back 20 years from now, and the reaction is, wow. You know what? We, yins if you're from Pittsburgh, yins, use if you're from here, Pennsylvania Dutch, use. Look what yous did. All right, you guys ready? This is very important. This is actually scientific, so I need you guys to vote. We are not testing the system. This is for real. Come on, there's only one right answer. And just so you're clear, it's the Redskins. It's not up there, so it's not there. All right, I'll give you guys a few more seconds. So this will be a test. You see how fast you got to vote, all right? Wait, one more. Who's in? Oh. I don't care? Wow. That hurt. All right, here we go. We talk about some of these older cities and the depth of their culture. South Florida is one that is very mixed, and we have people who've been here for generations, and then we have people who have just gotten here. So, how long have you been here? Come on, be honest. 3, 2. Oh, you got to vote fast. All right, if you didn't vote, you got to stand up and say your age. Who's going? All right, vote next time. Now, this is a house. And it's not the dog house. No, it's the house. Come on, 66. We have more than that. Let's go. We're actually gathering all your cell phone numbers. This is actually a trick. So we know who didn't vote. We got you. All right. So we actually had you sign in, and everyone who's not voting on a regular basis, you are about to be appointed. The mayor is going to appoint you to 6 boards. Good. We kept rewording this question. We had it broken down into a bunch of quadrants, and then we're like, you know what? Let's just keep this simple. Do you live east or west? And the other question probably should be, do you dare drive on 95? Oh, gosh, no. No, not unless I have to. Well, you guys are getting faster now. All right. All right, so you people who live west of 95, I need you to really look around. And I say this honestly, we want to make sure that we hear from everybody, okay? The city is not Atlantic Avenue from Swinton East. It's everybody, okay? So we need to make sure we're getting everyone in every corner of the city. All right, you can just lie on this one. Go ahead. Roll 18, yeah. All right, come on. We're not really tracking. Vote. Look at it. No, I'm not going to answer that question. They're going to figure out that I'm over 30. All right, good job. Wow. So look at this. A and B are missing. Okay? As we walk through this process, remember the playground. We need those kids here. A guy I worked with years ago, I lived up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, not Lancaster, Lancaster, thank you. If you don't say it right. And we did invent the whoopie pie. I don't care what Maine says. It came from Lancaster. Don't believe the lies. All right? He had a poster in his office. He was a planning nerd too. And he had a poster called The Doorways of Lancaster. And one day his little son was coming through and he looked at the doorways and goes, "Dad, that's the YMCA. I didn't know what door it was. How did I know? You know how he knew? From the street, when he's walking along, that's all he sees are the doorways. He knew it. So perspective, we need every age group filled in here. We need every one of these. So you think you're smart. I know this because I looked it up. What year did it become the city? The envelope, please. Come on, we got 70. Come on, I know we can do it. 70, there we go. So everyone who guessed B, go back and give your history teacher a big hug. Good job. So when you come here, when you hang out here, if you live here, Saturday morning comes around, you go, what do you want to do today? What do I want to do? I feel like I haven't in a long time. I haven't what? Oh, the green marker's not on there. Oh, I'm in trouble. And I do apologize. We actually had one more, but didn't fit. It was attend a city commission meeting. We had that up there. But it would throw the whole scale off so badly. Everyone would be like, yeah, that's what I do every. So we didn't want to distort the whole scale. So. All right, Laura, Simon, you want to picture that slide for you? So I'll venture out now into an area that we've been talking a lot about, and that is attending events. And that's something that I'll say now that we want to have more conversation about this. The commission has done a great job, and Francine Maggia, our assistant city manager, did a fantastic job driving forward a process to really look at special events and how we do them. But we want to keep talking to this community and say, what events really are us, and what do we do, and how do we want to do it? Because we really want to bring people to our city. And we want to have people in our city say, hey, it's Saturday night, and we're coming back out. I heard some of the interviews, and I heard some of the people say back there that their first impression, their first knowledge of Delray was coming to the Delray Affair. That's the kind of stuff we want to build. We want to find out what's really going to draw you in, what's going to keep you here, okay? And we're going to be talking about all these things. We're going to be talking about our parks and where we go to play. We're going to be talking about building jobs and what kind of jobs we want to attract here. We're going to be talking about downtown. We're going to be talking about the tennis center. We're going to be talking about... Did anyone hit the library? Oh, I was going to say, if no one hit the library, we'd really be in trouble. I have a 25-year-old daughter who you think in the technology world would be all on electronic. Oh no, she's electronic on everything, but she is a book nerd. She reads like 5 or 6 books at the same time. I'm lucky to get through one, but she has to have the book. She loves the paper books, and so don't panic to think that this younger generation is all electronic. There's still strength in that. It's not that it's nostalgic. It's what they love. So don't give up on the libraries yet. Did I get an amen? Hallelujah. So what do you love the most? And I know the list could be a whole lot longer, and we're going to ask you that in the survey. We need to hear from you. But of these, we should say, of this list, what do you love the most? So I'll tell you one of my favorite golfing stories. When I was working up in Pennsylvania, we had a municipal golf course, and a bunch of us went out, and the public works director, who was actually not a terrible golfer like I am, but he was actually okay, and he got in this hole, and he hit it, and he just did terrible, right? Pulled it off to the right, hit a tree, bounced into the fairway. I'm like, oh, no way, right? Got up again, smacked it left, hit a tree, bounced into the fairway. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. 3 times in a row. 3 times he hit the tree, bounced in, he knocked it in, and he walked away. I'm like, I'm done. There you go. F was the only right answer. So anyone who's ever pulled a building permit knows the joy of that process, and you probably actually did it just because the permit process is really so fun. You're like, you know what, I'm going to pretend I'm putting an addition on just so I can get a permit. It's just so fun. I love waiting in line and not knowing what I'm doing and having all the wrong forms filled out completely correctly, and then I got to start all over, and it's great. So what year did we rank number 10 in the state for building permits? Come on, break 70. I know we can do it. You guys are so close. All right, raise your hand if you said D, 15. It's so wrong. Ridiculous. I I would have said that. I would have said, yeah, we're growing again. Oh no, it was back we came out of the boom. And we started to grow. And Delray was discovered as a place to come in. And so things were happening very fast back then. So you think we're building a lot now. You think houses are going up. Imagine back then when things were just coming out of the ground quick. That was an incredible time for us. And that's a part of our history that we want to hold on to and preserve. Take a second and read this, please. There are 2 questions. There's only one of them is correct. Will you serve on our Board of Adjustments? I ate already. I can stand here all day. I'm waiting until it gets to 70. Yes or yes? Pick one. Remember when I said I was joking about tracking your number? Oh no. We know who you said yes. Look at people aren't even going to do it. I'm not there's no way I'm going to vote on that one. Oh gosh, no. All right. Thank you. We will be calling you. We put this up here, yes, to be fun, but we have needs here in this city. And yes, we have professional staff that come out and we work here every day. But the city is also run by a lot of volunteers and a lot of people serving on boards. And we've had people that have served for a very long time on our boards. And that's a huge gift back to your community. And I just want to challenge all of you, if you haven't signed up yet, please find a way to serve. Find somewhere you can plug in. We have people who are now volunteered to sit on the steering committee, and they're going to be it's going to be busy. It's going to be a lot of work. They're going to take time, and they're going to work hard for you to help plan the city for the next 20 years. But we have other boards where we need you. We have boards that look at planning. We have boards that look at public art. We have boards that deal with parking. Find an area of interest. Go on the city's website, and on the city commission page, you'll see the list of all the boards that are there. Okay? And the vacancies are there, the ones that we have openings for. Okay? And seriously, take some time and think about this. We need you. Some of the boards actually require some specific training. So if you have a background in architecture, in site design, and a number of things, please consider, okay? It's not a life sentence. Feels like it sometimes, but you can serve for 4 years. You can serve for a period of time, but often, and I mean this honestly, people come in and they start serving on a board and they get involved and they said, you know what, I'm passionate about this city and I want to give back. And next thing you know, you're on another board, and next thing you know, you're running for office, and you could be the next one of our 5 commissioners coming up. And that's the kind of passion we need here in this city, okay? So not do you live here, but do you work here? How many of us work here in the city? I'll take this to do a quick plug. We are working on a new major project, and Joan Goodrich, who's here for the city, she is working on the Congress Avenue corridor. And we've done an incredible job as a city on Atlantic Avenue, and we will keep doing hard work. It's not done yet. But going west now, going west and then heading north-south, we really want to take a good, long, hard look at Congress Avenue. And I wish I could just spill the beans and tell you some of the things that are bubbling, but there's some exciting things that are happening now out there that, should they materialize and come to fruition, they're going to be exciting. So things are going to happen west. Good things are happening. We're going to pull in some great jobs out there. I think we all know that the 42 acres sitting down on the south part of Congress Avenue that used to be Office Depot is going to be redeveloped at some point. And so we need those jobs here in the city. Nice. That's impressive. So I'd love to compare how many people live here and work here. That's really impressive. So how many are going to come to the rest of these meetings? We need your voice. To stay involved. And there'll be 4 community workshops. There will be steering committee meetings. We'll have other meetings. And when we get things together as a draft, we're taking it around to the different boards and groups. And ultimately, it's going to end up with our city commission taking a hard look at this and then adopting it as our formal plan. Who said D? Who? I want to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Sergeant Stephen Hines. He's a cop. He's a big, scary cop. Can you imagine that mug sticking in your window going, I see you for a minute? Who? Steve, I'll get you the name and number of that one. I need you to follow up for me. Thank you. None. You just blew it because you're here now. Nice try. So of all the different media outlets that we have, how did you find out about this meeting? And this one actually is important to us because we want to know how to reach you. For good purposes, we need you on the boards. We're going to suck you in. That's true. Social media is not there. That's really funny. We could call website / social media. Okay, we'll do a slide. I know Ryan's in the audience going, social media, you forgot that one. Hello? We got newspaper. Newspaper's there. It's there. We got, sorry. You know, I don't even know if we posted it in the newspaper. Who put newspaper? Was it actually in the paper? And there actually was, if you actually wandered in off the street, we had free food for you. Did you guys get all out there? No? Oops. So let's drill down to some topics. If you had to just pick one of these and no, we're not getting volunteers now, but if you had to say one of these really is the one that I think we need to put a lot of time and energy into, and you can only pick one. I know that all these are important, but you can pick one. Which one would you say, yes, absolutely, positively, we have to focus on that one? And again, let me be clear. We're going to hit all of these. We're going to go down every one of these and talk about everything that we're doing. Yes, you personally. I saw an article the other day, and you've read the articles about Uber, and Uber just tested in Pittsburgh. Now, has anyone here been to Pittsburgh? If you want to teach your kid to drive manual car, where do you take him? You take him to Pittsburgh, right? Because you're going up and down hills like this, and if you can do it there, man, you're set. So what does Uber launch in Pittsburgh and Steel City? Driverless cars. Really? In Pittsburgh? So just yesterday, I saw an article that Uber is beginning testing on driverless personal airplanes. Yes, you heard me correctly. You are going to be transported to Deck 84 in a Uber drone? It's coming, people. Technology is changing. I mean, back when we were kids, I mean, technology kind of took steps along, and I've heard it say that technology now, the time between major leaps in technology has cut down so short now that we joke, you buy a brand new computer, and as you walk out of the store, it's already old, you know? And it's kind of funny, but it's true. Technology is going forward so fast. Traffic signals. Something so simple as that. Now, the systems that we're building now are intelligent systems, and they track traffic by date and time. And it builds the timing cycles based on actual usage. so that no longer do you have to get there and you back up a little bit and you make sure you get right on top of that trap thing. So it's going to, you're going to turn left here soon. If they get right on there, it might actually flip the light and you can go within 20 minutes. No, it starts tracking these things. And so we have these cameras tracking everything. And if you see the billboards now, you drive on any major highway, it says, traffic accident ahead, here, go here, or turn your radio here, or do this. This technology already exists. It's just getting it out across the U.S. So technology is changing extremely fast. Wow. And I think C is probably the one that is probably a little scary. Because changing community character, until I know what that means, I don't know. But communities change, and I read somewhere once this author who was saying that cities are really like people, and they have almost like a soul, a character to them, and every city is unique. And when Tim and the mayor are up here, they're talking about the uniqueness of Delray. Who is Delray? Who is our city? What is the heartbeat of this city? And when I lived in Amsterdam, one of the things I'd love to do is when teams would come over, I'd take them for a walk around the city. And we'd wander through different areas. And Amsterdam is known for a few things. And yes, the red light district is huge, but that's only such a small part of the incredible beauty of this amazing city. So you walk around, I come back, and then I'd say, what did you see? What did you smell? What did you pick up here in the city? And it's amazing how intuitive we really are as people if we just stop and think about what is. Because sometimes we go through our day and what is just is because that's what it is. Well, take time and think, what is Delray? If you're going someplace close, walk instead of drive. And as you're walking through, think about what is it about this place that I like so much? Why do I live here? Why do I keep coming back here? What is this city? And I think as we talk and we go through this, I think you'd be surprised that some of the things that we find really important, a lot of us find really important. So education, Tim hit on this. Education is going to be very important to us. And one of the things we want to know is, have your kids or do your kids go to our Delray schools? We talk about interrelationship of things. I think most of us understand that when people are looking for housing, especially if you're a young family, it's one of the first things you talk about, the quality of the schools, right? Because that's going to impact where you decide to go. And we have a great relationship with the public school system and with a lot of our private schools here that we want to keep working on that. And then, as we mentioned, education as a whole. We want to go from early childhood up to senior classes so that we're teaching everybody. We're making our citizens stronger citizens. Close enough. All right, there's some teachers in the room. I'd run if I were you if you said no. I love asking questions that make people think, and one of the questions that comes out now and then is if you were granted a superpower, you could do anything, what would it be? And for as long as I can remember, mine has always been, I wish I could speak every language. How cool would that be that you could talk to everybody you come across in their heart language? You're not trying to translate into, I think this means this. No, you could talk purely from your heart, and we can understand it. One thing that we want to do with this, and Tim mentioned it, is you saw those three pieces. We have the main policy guide, then we have all the data pieces, and then we're going to have this thing. We called it an executive summary because we don't know really how to put a good name on it yet. But we wanted to develop a piece that's going to be something you can have in your house. It's going to be kind of something you can have on your coffee table around and have conversations about it. But we want to write it in your heart language if we can. So we're going to start out in English and Spanish and Haitian Creole, but if there's other ones, then we can, from there, we can begin to look at it. But we want to reach people in their heart. My two daughters were born in the States, but they grew up over in Holland. And one day I was talking to my oldest daughter, Sela, and I said, so when you dream, I didn't know, I barely speak English, you know. I said, when you dream, what do you dream in? She goes, usually Dutch. Now she speaks English fluently, and she speaks Dutch, and now she speaks Spanish fluently. But it's interesting how when you get to know people, and I love cultures, and I love people, how so much truly our heart language is important to us, and our culture. Capturing and understanding people's culture and the way they live is absolutely fascinating. We had a team that came from Holland over to America because it was actually a church I was attending over there, and they were looking for a pastor, and it was an international church, so they came over to America to find an English-speaking pastor. The team went over, and they came back, and we were talking to them, and they said, well, how did the search go? I said, well, the guy was great, but I don't think the search went well at all. I said, well, why is that? He goes, well, we got there, and we had our big meeting. He took us to dinner. Oh, okay. In Holland, in Dutch culture, if you don't like somebody, you take them out. You're not going to take you to my home. Oh, no. We're going to go out to dinner. I don't want you around. They were offended. They thought it went horribly wrong. As an American, what do you think he thought? I am going to spoil you rotten. I am going to show you how much I care because I'm going to take you to the best restaurant I can find. They're like, oh, we're done. Cultures are fascinating, and if you haven't traveled, and you haven't had the pleasure of making a major cultural faux pas in the middle of the street somewhere, you got to get out and do it. It's humiliating. I'm going to take a wild shot, and I bet there's people in this room who know this answer. That was my kid. First place. We got the trophy. You know, don't. That. You know how they say that childhood traumas are like some of the deepest ones you have? My dad was a technical writer. Just like everything I wrote, Dad was like, no. Try again, son. Thank you. Thank you. You're our proofreader. Thank you. Tim, get his name and number. Where's Amy? Amy, are you still here? So you got someone else who proofreads my stuff. You happy now? You're not the only one. So I send these emails out in the office, and I'm looking for information. And Amy Alvarez, I don't want to embarrass her, but she's sitting in the back in the center right here. If you could spotlight her right now. So when I get a response back from Amy, it's not, Mark, I have it in the third drawer over there. It's like, do you know you spelled this wrong? Thanks, Amy. Yes, that's not the information I was looking for. You guys are good. How cool is that? Talk about a field that's like exploding right now. Of course, I went right to food. So how can we reach you? All right, we got news media, Ryan. Is that close? No, it's not social media, it is. It still missed it. Oh, see, all right, sorry. Just social media. And this one, I'm going to wait because this is important to us. So we want to make sure we know how to get to you. And while you're answering these last few questions, I just want to introduce the last segment we're going to get into. And we have some microphones down here. And if I could have a couple of staff people come and just take these micro stands and just move them down into the aisles a little bit. What we want to do is we want to hear from you. And so we're going to take a few minutes after we wrap up this formal part of the program. And we want you to come up to the microphone if you want and take just 2 or 3 minutes and tell us what are the important topics for you. What are the issues, or what are some questions you have that you want to ask us? What are some things that you think are important, you think we haven't caught, or you want to know? It can be about the process, it can be about anything we do, but take some time now and think about that, because we want to open it up here in a few minutes to hear from you and your questions. All right, Amy, you're proofreading all these emails too. So here we go. Here's our webpage, and as Tim comes back up, we now want to just spend some time and hear back from you. So take some time and ask us some questions. What are some issues you think we might have missed? What are some things that you think are important?
He'll be at the open mic night on Thursday.
Thank you. I'm here all week.
The ice. John Miller. As I'm on the steering committee, it's nice to kind of see what we're going to be doing. This is great. Delray is not in a vacuum, obviously, so there's a lot of other stakeholders, school district, county, other cities around us. How do you plan to engage them? And for example, I live out in the northwest corner. Barwick Road on school mornings is challenging. So just using that as just one small example, how would you go about engaging others to solve problems in the city itself?
It's absolutely critical that we work together. And if you remember, the one element that Tim had gone over is intergovernmental coordination. And it's not just among other governmental groups. We have to actually coordinate and talk with all the other groups. So how specifically are we going to do it? We want to, one, we'll be reaching out to them. Two, we have a group that we're a part of, which the initials are IPARC, and it's an intergovernmental coordination committee that the county helps facilitate. That's all the municipalities in the county here that we get together and we talk about these bigger issues. A good example is All Aboard Florida. The impact of that is not the impact on Delray, it's the impact on the whole East Coast from Orlando on down. Stormwater issues, traffic issues, job issues, all of these are not locked within a border, so these are all things that we have to talk to our neighbors about.
And one thing in particular relative to the school board or school district is we have an interlocal agreement that needs to be amended that they have been working on for quite some time. And so that needs to be part of the conversation with the school board. But as I mentioned, all of the groups, whether it's and agencies, whether it's transportation, housing, education, we want to bring them in and actually speak to you as the steering committee so that you can hear from them firsthand what some of the issues are they're dealing with and what they might recommend that we include in our plan to better provide that intergovernmental coordination.
Good. Somebody else? Yes.
I hope that everything you've done tonight is done in pencil, because I've felt for a long time, I've always felt this way, that Delray is or would be a dying city like so many other cities in this country if it didn't have the word beach established with it. And for you to have a slogan that says always Delray and leave off the word beach is just unconscionable as far as I'm concerned. I would change it to it's Delray Beach, period. That's it. It's Delray Beach. That's what we're working on. We're not working on just Delray. You spent a lot of time talking about different things, and you forgot about the beach. You didn't have much emphasis on the beach. That's what made Delray what it is, the beach. And so for you to just put Delray is kind of misleading, and if we're going to spend a year or two on this topic, I think we should be headed in the right direction, and I don't think you're heading in the right direction at all right now. The other thing is, I personally don't have a clue as to why you spent 20 minutes up here, or an hour up here, talking about 20 questions, multiple choice questions, and getting the answers. It was just, you know, like open mic night. It was boring, and I'm sure a lot of people in this audience are going to say, if that's what it's about, I'm not even going to be coming back. They may have been nice about it, but they're just not going to come back. That's all there is to it. Thank you.
And we take that to heart. One of the slogans that's coming around the city right now is the beach is just the beginning. So we do take the beach seriously, and thank you. We'll look at that.
I'm glad someone mentioned something about All Aboard Florida. All Aboard Florida is really all about freight, and we have to be very concerned about those 2.5-mile-long toxic freight trains that are traveling through the streets of Delray and the entire coastal community. So we need to really support a plan to be able to deal with that situation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, absolutely true. And one of the things that you're going to hear more about in the coming days, and I know I picked on Steve, but Steve Hines is our emergency management coordinator. And one of the things that he is very focused on right now is making sure that we are prepared should such an event happen.
I'm a little bit one-dimensional when it comes to my view of things, housing, affordable housing, and I want to make sure that whatever the input process is that people who are impacted by the cost of housing in Delray would have an opportunity to say something about it.
Absolutely.
No, please, go ahead.
Well, first, Mark, thank you very much for making it very engaging tonight and light, because I know the next few meetings probably won't be quite as light, but for the kickoff meeting, that was great, so thank you for that. I noticed something in answers, and something that I was concerned about is getting the opinion of millennials. I employ several, and they are very hard to get to come to things like this. I guess you Snapchat them or something, I'm not sure really. So I would like to know what you're planning for that. And also I noticed parents that have kids in our school system, that seemed low as well, because they're probably taking care of their children right now, like my wife is, and that's why we couldn't come together tonight. So just what your plan is for those two groups that I think are very important. Thanks.
Well, we're doing everything in our part to have as much of a variety of engagement as we can. And so with respect to the millennials, we're going to try to get out to some of the events where they're likely going to be frequenting as well, so that they can give us their input at those. Hopefully some of the social media aspects of it will bring them in. We also are going to be, I think the intent is to go out to the schools directly. So not just to get the parents, but the children involved in this process or in this discussion.
So first and foremost, I want to thank you everyone for being here tonight and for presenting this to the community. I certainly find the value in knowing these things. I try to be engaged, having recently moved here to the city late last year. The thing that I think about, and I'm 38 years old, just to kind of give you some context, is when I look at the voting counts and the electorate in the city, when I look at plans like this, the concern I have is that there's a number of people who tend to voice their opinions vocally in a very negative way for a lot of issues, and usually proponents of projects don't speak up enough. And so the concern I have with most of those people is, while they have the courage to voice their opinions, very often they're guided towards their own self-interests and not to the betterment of the city or the community in which they live. So for someone who's 38 years old, I look at things that if we're talking 20 years down the road from now, for me, it's consideration towards retirement, where some people are looking at maybe not being in the city, maybe moving away, not having their families here, what have you. But yet, as the prior speaker pointed out, the youth of the city, the children, the teenagers, the people who are hopefully going to stay in the city and have their own families, to me, it's their interest at heart that I'm more concerned about than someone who's approaching retirement, is retired, and is looking at the short term, their own self-interest, and not long term, again, for the betterment of our community. So the question I have is, knowing that we're trying to get the majority of the city to support future projects, how do we convince people that the projects in mind are the right projects for the vision 20, 30, 50 years from now, and not just trying to remedy something that happened in our recent history? Thank you.
That is always a challenge in any of these processes. We tend to try to pick a plan horizon that is somewhat outside of what you might see occur. 20 years is a short time frame. Many of these plans are 30, 40, 50 years out for that reason. Some cities have 100-year plans because they want people to think about what the city's like when they're not there. So they're removing their own personal biases from that. And that's what we challenge each of you to do, is look at it not just for how it affects you, but how it affects the other 63,499 people in the city of Delray.
Good evening. I thank you very much for everything you guys are doing. For those who don't know me, my name is Patrick Halliday. I'm the president and founder of the Delray Beach Bicycle Club, as well as vice chairman for Human Powered Delray. And for me, since I've moved here 19 plus years ago, I got involved with a good friend of mine who was a cyclist, Brett Baranek, who was a ped bike coordinator for the Palm Beach County. And as we became friends and we learned how Delray is such a wonderful community, we wanted to enhance it by reaching out to get people to think about changing from a car-centric community to a more bicycle-friendly, walking, better for your health. And the wrong message, I think, has been spent thinking that people on bicycles are spandex riders that ride fast down A1A and cause havoc with the motorist, where for us it's been kind of the opposite. We're in all the schools right now teaching bicycle safety classes, churches and events. For the last 2 years, I spent doing a bike valet at the Green Market. And one of the things I learned is people come up to me and ask me questions about safe biking, sidewalks, and all the pedestrian-related things. And for me, what I take from that is listening to them because they have a voice. And they want to be heard. They want this question or this concern to be taken to you. And no one's ever really done that. Everything's been told to them. And they don't feel like they've had an opportunity to really make a difference. So I engage with them and they say, why don't you work with us and help us to get this message to the city? And this is what our concern is on. We're taxpayers. We want to be able to see safe roads and paths to schools and the ability to ride our bicycle and be safe. So they want to see bike lanes. They want to see all these things, but they feel like, well, I won't bother because no one's going to listen, because no one ever does. And I think that the approach needs to be, we need to listen to them and we need to get them more actively involved because they want to be, but no one's speaking to them. And I think for me, one of the important things I'm doing right now is doing exactly that. And then hopefully right now I'm moving towards working as I do for the last 3 years, countless hours, to become involved more so with Delray as a pedestrian bicycle coordinator for the city, which most of the people here support that. I have hundreds and hundreds of support letters. But I think it's something that has to be more than just a local club or more than just a few. It has to be so many more people. And I think that if we can put the word out there to engage more people to come to the meetings and not just think it's going to be something for a special elite group of people east of Swinton and who own expensive homes. I want to reach out to West Delray, and all the people of color, race, to be part of this meeting and the future meetings. So I congratulate you for what you're doing. I'd just like to take the emphasis and involve more local people and fill this place. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Barry Fretti. By the way, I enjoyed the interaction, not taking sides. A couple of weeks ago, something became very personal to me where I guess I'm fairly approachable, so I get to know people in the community. And one of the young ladies came to talk to me 2 Thursdays ago, and the next day she was dead from a heroin overdose. And it really crushed me. And then I started frequenting more meetings in the city, and I learned more about the epidemic and kind of the stigma that Delray has. And I also learned that there was a lot of unregulated halfway houses in our town. And I hate to say it, but I'm born and raised in Miami, and I always heard that Delray, was where to go if you needed rehab. I'm just saying that everybody comes here from all over the country. Is there anything that we're doing to promote, to regulate these types of halfway houses so we can remove that stigma from our county? And what is there a serious impetus right now that you all are working on right now to help regulate that, so that when the kids do come here, they get help and they get clean and they go back or whatever, but they don't come here and stick around and do drugs and constantly loiter and stuff? I just would like to hear what plans you all have for that.
Thank you. Yes, that is something that has come up frequently in Delray, and I think if you go back to any number of commission meetings, you'll hear the mayor speak on all the efforts that are being undertaken by Delray. Delray is, I'd say, at the forefront of trying to get action in addressing these issues. We're anticipating the joint report from HUD and the Department of Justice with respect to not just I think the abuse that's occurring in the industry, but also how we can have a greater impact in regulating them. That's supposed to be coming out very soon. Initially, it was going to come out after the summer. Now they've put it off a few more months. So we're anticipating that. The city is very actively engaged in the task force that's been set up to look at these. And if there's anything that can be done, we are doing it. That's, we are now looking at our own reasonable accommodation rules and how we can strengthen those to have even more of an impact on how these get approved. And the challenge is that we have to stay within the federal laws as it pertains to individuals with a disability.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Nice try, Tim. You could have answered his question by just saying, there is nothing we could do about it, period. As far as your federal people, that letter isn't coming for a real long time. And when it comes, it'll say, there's nothing we could do. So how could you talk about all these plans when the overdoses are tripling, the crack houses, you call them halfway houses, are growing by an enormous rate, and we can't do anything? If you want to buy a house and it's suitable for a drug house, you can't get it because the drug industry will pay 110% in cash on the spot the day after it's posted. So, what can we do about it? At this point, nothing. And I don't like hearing the political nonsense that I've been hearing. I mean, $275,000 given to Dave. If you've been in politics a long time, you realize that's money to spread around to your friends because there's nothing they could do about it. They can't open the ADA. And as I said the other night, your senators, your congressmen, they get millions of dollars for campaigns. They get campaign events. They get vacations and they get cash under the table. You're going to beat that? It isn't going to happen. So I don't know what this was about tonight, all those questions, but you're spinning your wheels. Thank you.
One of the things that we have here in the city, and no, that's all right. One of the things we have here in the city, and if you don't know about it, let me tell you, there's a very powerful group called Healthier Delray. And it's a group of people who are coming together to say, hey, you know what, we can do this better. And we can help. And I won't go into long stories. If you want to talk sometime, call me and we'll go out for coffee. But in my years over in Amsterdam, what I dealt with for 8 years is homeless people living on the streets. And you want to talk about a broken, difficult population to reach. Here's what I learned in dealing with that time and time again is these were incredible people. Beautiful, amazing people who were broken. Which one of us hasn't been broken? And you take these people and you talk to them and you get to know them. You get to know their heart. And there's a saying in counseling that says that hurt people hurt people. So you know what we need to do is you need to go back and you need to find those hurt people and you need to get them out of their pain. And getting them out of the pain will get them out of the cycle of addictions and medicating. And then can you get people turned around out of addictions into a healthier lifestyle? Yes, you can. But you know what? It takes a lot of hard work. And so Kristen Cox is here in the back. She's one of the team members from Healthier Delray, and they are doing great work. And if you have interest in this, and this is something you actually you care about, because these homes are an issue here. It is a big deal in the city. Absolutely. And we're not going to ignore it. We're not going to say, hey, we don't know about it. That's one of the issues we're going to take head on through this process. But don't wait for that process. Get involved now, because it's an incredible work. And if you want to feel valued as a human, work with somebody and see them become who they were made to be. If that could be our life challenge, that's the one thing that we can do in this town is help people be who they were created to be, then let me tell you, you've succeeded. So thank you, Dr. Vicky. You know what? There are things that we can do, and there are some things that we are going to do. We've got just a few minutes left.
And I just want, for those, I apologize for some that may not have got what tonight was about. Tonight was about letting you know what's coming. We didn't want to dive right into some very heady topics. I think Ryan put it best. You know, let's first understand what it is we're getting into, get you to start thinking about it, talking to your friends, talking to your family, talking to your coworkers, so that when we do come into the first meeting, you're not just coming in cold. You've put some thought into these issues. You've put some thought into how you want to have an impact. And we wanted to give you an idea of the road we have ahead. The mayor said it, setting expectations. We want you to see that this is a somewhat of a sprint combined with a marathon. It's a triathlon. I mean, it's going to be some long hours, some long meetings, a lot of meetings, but we want you to be part of it throughout the entire process, and felt that tonight we'd give you a taste of it, again, to get you to start thinking about it. So I hope you did enjoy it. I think Mark did a fantastic job. And thank you again for coming out.
I did want to thank you very much for this opportunity. I clearly understood what we were coming for. I will say, because it's pretty well known in town that I'm pretty active on social media, there was a lot of sentiment that there have, and I have not lived here that long. I've not lived here, I was in the 2 to 10 year category. There was a lot of sentiment, and I can't base on whether or not it's true or not because I wasn't here, that there have been ongoing charrettes, meetings. There's a sentiment out there that people are discouraged because they have gone to these types of events and they feel they have not been listened to. I'm just here to voice that. Again, I can't agree with it, but I believe that one of the best things that will help you to get engagement is if you can score some early wins where you really demonstrate that the input of all the people in this room and all the people on the committees and the staff, just try and score some early wins where you are listening, because there's a lot of cynicism that we're not listening. And the other sentiment that I share with Dr. Vick in some ways, not that there's nothing we can do. There's always something you can do. But so many of I did not get a sense from the presentation that our problem with what I call the rehabilitation sober overdose, I consider that all one topic, because this city spent years with the endorsement before I moved here, long before I moved here. Delray, like Malibu, California, is known as being a magnet for drug addicts. And that's something in some ways we can be proud of because we've been trying to help people. But in recent years, this thing has gotten so far out of control. And in many ways, all these businesses that thrive on this, there are good actors and there are bad actors, but the scales are tipping. And we've got so many people preying on these folks that need help. And I know, because I've spoken to the mayor personally about it, that our hands are tied in some ways. But I beseech you through this process, because it's going to be the most far-reaching and broad process we have in the coming years, to think about that. I'm one of the people that the young gentleman said 20 years from now, I hope I'm still standing here 20 years from now, or standing somewhere. But so it's not about me. It really is not about me. It's about the future of this town. None of my children will choose to live here. I know that. They will choose to visit me. They have reasons for wanting to live elsewhere. But for the young people that do want to stay in their hometown or come back to this area, if we don't get this drug situation right, forget education, housing. I mean, that's how passionately I feel about that. I didn't really get the sense from this presentation that it was that much of a priority, and I hope that you will make it a foundational priority to do as much as we can. Thank you.
And it's that energy that we need to hear from you, and we need you involved in this process, because we need people who are passionate about these topics to get involved. So please keep coming and reach out to us and talk to us, because we need your voice in this process. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you all for coming out. Check the website frequently. If you don't get an email from us, hopefully we could read your email address that you wrote down. If not, send us an email and we will have your address that way. Thank you. Great job. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for...